Cooking my Korean parents' first full English breakfast. For English back bacon, combine sea salt, pink curing salt, brown sugar, juniper berries, black pepper, and crushed bay leaves. Mix them thoroughly and rub the cure mix all over pat-dried pork. Gotta make sure it doesn't miss any spots or crevices. Then I kept it in the fridge for 8 days, flipping once a day. When it got firm, I rinsed it thoroughly and soaked in cold water for a couple of hours. Then pat-dried completely and let it mature uncovered in fridge overnight. Exciting news! I finally bought a smoke generator.
Oh no, you hurt my grill.
I cold smoked the bacon for 12 hours and let it chill in the fridge overnight. For bangers, I washed and soaked hog casing for an hour and rinsed the inside thoroughly. Then I made rusk by mixing flour, salt, baking powder, and cold water. Rusk is key because it gives that unique light and bouncy texture of British sausages, and it absorbs liquid much better than breadcrumbs. I baked it at 400 for 35 minutes and cut them, then baked again at 200 for another 2 hours. And I cooled and ground them. I mixed rusk with salt, white pepper, sage, mace, nutmeg, and black pepper and mixed them thoroughly. Then I ground some pork and some fat too. Folded seasoning into the meat and added ice cold water gradually and mixed and massaged until it stuck to my hand like this. Gotta cook a little piece to taste the saltiness. Loaded the casing and tied one end and poked an air hole. Then stuffed the casing while making links by twisting. And I dried them on a rack uncovered in the fridge for a couple of hours. Then I boiled them in gently simmering water until it reached the internal temperature of 165. And I cooled in ice water for 20 minutes and let it dry in the fridge for an hour. And they're vacuum packed and in the freezer. For black pudding, I rinsed and soaked beef runners in water for an hour. I lightly toasted oats and I put some pearl barley in a bag and washed it. Then boiled them until soft for about 40 minutes. Beef runners were still smelly, so I flipped it inside out and soaked in milk and washed with baking soda. Then flipped back and cleaned thoroughly with water. Then I cut pork fat into half-inch cubes, salt in boiling water, and blanched the fat for a couple of minutes. Then shocked them in ice-cold water and drained. I finely chopped onions and sauteed them in some pork fat. I was lucky to be able to get fresh pork blood, but most people in the UK now use powdered one instead. I blended them and strained them. Then I added sea salt, white pepper, coriander, marjoram, thyme, and mace. Added toasted oats, sauteed onions, boiled barley, and blanched fat, and folded in everything. Gotta make sure to put everything on ice to keep fresh and safe. I cooked a small batch to taste the saltiness. I tied one end of the casing, then loaded onto a funnel. Then stuffed it with the filling, making sure the solids are evenly distributed and the casing is filled about 75 to 80%. Then I tied the other end and cooked in gently simmering water. Don't ever boil them because they will burst. Cook for about 80 minutes until internal temperature reached 165 to 175. Then shocked in ice water to stop cooking and to give a nice texture to the casing. I hanged them to dry for a couple of hours before packing them to store in the fridge. Then I made some bread with milk, cream, salt, egg, flour, yeast, and sugar. And slice them, let them dry out a bit since they're gonna have to absorb lots of grease the next day. Then I washed and soaked haricot beans before going to bed. The day has finally come. I sliced my beautiful back bacon. By the way, this cut is basically pork loin with a little bit of pork belly attached. This is a cut used for traditional English back bacon. I sliced black pudding. They are just gorgeous. Then I halved some tomatoes. I boiled beans with some salt until just tender. Sauteed onion in oil and butter with a touch of garlic. Added some brown sugar, malt vinegar, and caramelized a bit. And sauteed tomato paste to bring out deep flavor. Added a little bit of paprika, dark molasses instead of black treacle, which didn't arrive in time, unfortunately. Then added crushed tomatoes, mustard, and some more molasses. Added some stock and let it simmer, then added beans and more stock, and let it simmer for 45 minutes and finished with salt, pepper, and a touch of vinegar. I added oil and butter in a pan, and in goes mushrooms, salt and pepper, and I let them cook until just tender. Finally, it's time to put everything together. I heard full English breakfast goes back to Victorian era, when the Industrial Revolution created a new middle class with larger homes and domestic servants, and breakfast became the most elaborate meal of the day for the upper and middle classes, showcasing wealth and hospitality. But correct me if I'm wrong, my Brit friends. I'm really looking forward to seeing mom and dad's reaction to this. Go to next video to see how mom and dad enjoyed this meal.
이거 이게 뭐냐? 그래.